Model, views, controllers, and routers. What the hell are these? Okay, so in this section I'm going to explain the concept of model, views, controllers, and routes. I know for the beginner these issues seem to be so complex, but I want to assure you that they are not. They are very simple to understand, and I've structured them in a way that it's very easy for an amateur to understand what they mean, because they are very important. Okay, so let's revisit a PHP application, a normal PHP application, for us to understand what models, views, controllers, and routes are. Okay, so the normal PHP application folder looks something like this. We have functions.php, we have various files and directories, and each directory handles different functions. So for example, let's see the functions. You may put there all the functions that will handle various processes of the application, okay, or the tasks that the application performs. Image may be for loading image, and then index.php, that may be for the displaying the main page. Okay, but then how are these? Maybe how do you navigate from one page to another? That is the concept of the routes. So if you want to move from the index, that's the main page, to the maybe a page called archive.php, you will do the main website /archives, and if not there, you are going to display 404.php. So in the same way, let me show you how a Laravel application is structured. So the first thing, we have the routes. Routes are basically for linking the site's pages. I just use that for layman's language. In layman's language, is for linking pages. Okay, think of routes as different links to different pages of your site. Okay, so let's say you have index.php, contact.php, about.php, etc. files in your directory. So how do you navigate from one file to another, or from one file that is in the parent directory inside another file that is in subdirectory or folder? Okay, we assume that the index.php is the main page, so it will be yoursite.com, that is the domain name, and then /index, that is the main or home page, or the main page. If you want to navigate to the contact.php or the contact page, you are going to load the contacts page. By to navigate, you are going to go to yoursite.com /contact.php. You see, those are routes. A route to home page, a route to contact page, and then a route to about page. Okay, so basically that is what routes mean in Laravel. So it loads different routes. It defines the routes of application. For example, if somebody goes to your site /contact, what should we do, or which file should we load from the views? So it loads a file that you defined from the views. And then if somebody goes /about, where should we redirect that person to? If somebody goes to a page that doesn't exist, automatically it's going to navigate to the 404.php or page. Okay, so basically that is what routes is in layman's language, for you to understand Laravel application. Okay, so controllers, that is the brain of your application, the brain that does various tasks, compilations, various decisions. For example, it is responsible it's responsible or it's where the functions are written, the crude functionality of your application. So where the user enters data, we take that data to the models and the model saves in the database. We do some compilations, maybe checking logic or validating the data before saving the data to the database using the models. Okay, and then pulling the data from the database. So you pull the data from the database, you do some customization. So you don't show the user the crude data, you do some customization, then you send to the views. Views are like front end, we're going to talk about them. And then it's also where the data from the views is worked upon and saved to the database. I've talked about that. And other application functionality. So this is the middleman between the views and the models. So as we talked about the MVC pattern or architecture, okay, the separation of functionalities. Okay, so that basically is the one that does controlling loading data or saving data based on specific logic that is placed in put in place by the developer. Okay, so what are the models? Models, they handle the application data. Anything to do with data, like saving the data, okay, from the views like the front end. Take it as a form on a website where users can register. So after the users have entered the details, you want to take that data and then save it to the database. But of course, the data will not be saved automatically. It will be worked upon by in the controllers. Okay, but you make the function in the controller, and then it will be saved after validation and other things. Okay, and then retrieving the data. So the queries are responsible for retrieving the data. Usually the models responsible for that. Then updating the data. Okay, after now working on the data or filtering the data, and you want now to update, the user wants to update the data, the functionality or what updates the models, and deleting the data. Okay, so all those functions, anything to deal with database, that is the models. Okay, and there are these that I didn't talk about, which are migrations. Migrations are basically the blueprint for creating models. So view model as, for example, if I want to create a blog that has a table called posts, so the post will be our model, but then the migration will contain the properties of posts table. You see, for example, it will contain maybe the post, maybe the title, and then the slug, and then the body and other fields. So that will be contained in the migrations. In Laravel, we don't go to the database and begin doing things manually, maybe saving details or creating table. No, we don't create table. We only create the database, and that is enough. All the other functionalities, we'll do them from our application. Application will do it. Okay, for example, if we want now to create all those tables, we have just to prepare the migrations for those tables, and then details for the table that are to be created, and then we'll just run a command on the command line, and it's going to create all those tables. If we want to delete, we'll do the same, and we will be doing the same. So we will not do it manually in the database or creating tables. Now let's look at views. What are they? So look at views as the app front end, or the front end of the application, where the users interact with the application. Now take it, for example, you visit a website right now. Any page that will be displayed, those are the the views. That is the view where user now interact with the application. You may be having a form, you may be having maybe data that has been pulled from the database and displayed. Okay, and then from the form you can submit details. Maybe you are doing some registration, you enter the details and then you submit. Or viewing data from the database. Maybe now you have visited my blog and now you are perusing through the posts. So those posts have been pulled from the database. That is the front end part of the views. Then you can maybe use that interacting the detail, like deleting if you are allowed, or authenticated, and that detail belongs to you, can delete. And then updating that, maybe updating your name or profile picture. And then basically, it is basically the user interface where the user interacts with the application. So that is actually the simplest explanation of the views, models, and controllers. So I believe from there you now understand what they are, and if we begin looking at them one by one now in the application, you have a preview, have a hint of what they are.